What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now today we have a bit more Lions news as a couple of other coaches were hired the other day by our Detroit Lions. However, the one I wanted to focus on today, the one that I wanted to put a spotlight on today, is the Detroit Lions' new defensive line coach, Todd Wash. Now Todd Wash was formerly the defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars and of course specialized in defensive linemen. And for me, this was the biggest hire out of the ones they made recently, and I really wanted to put a spotlight on Todd Wash, really, take a really deep dive, really take a good look at him, look at his resume, look at the players he's worked with, and talk about why this is such a great and such an underrated hire for our Detroit Lions. Now, before we get into the video and before we get into talking about Todd Wash as the new defensive Lions coach for the Detroit Lions, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of every day to do so. It helps the channel out more than you could know. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. I'd be super appreciative for it. I'd be super appreciative for everybody that could do so. But with all that being said, and without any further ado, let's get into talking about Todd Wash, the new defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions. Now, as I mentioned previously, Todd Wash is going to be the new defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions. It was announced a few days ago that that was the guy they were going to hire. And, again, I think this is a very good signing for the Detroit Lions. Now, Todd Wash was the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator from 2016 through 2020. And in that time, the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least in the 2017 and in the 2018 season, had a very solid defense about them. And it was the strength of their football team. Now, before he was the defensive coordinator in Jacksonville, he was the defensive line coach in Jacksonville from 2013 to 2015. He was the defensive line coach in Seattle from 2011 to 2012 and was the defensive lines coach in Tampa Bay from 2008 to 2010. I do believe this is a big upgrade for the Detroit Lions defense. As we know, pass rush was really the Lions' biggest struggle last season as they finished 26th in sacks last season, and a majority of their production came from one player in Romeo Okwara. So, the pass rush for the Detroit Lions last year wasn't very good, and there was only really one player getting significant production for the Lions last year, and as a football team, that's never going to cut it from a defensive line. Now, looking at Todd Wash, looking at the players he's worked with and the players he has helped develop, his resume and some of the players he has coached is quite an impressive list. I mean, you got guys like Josh Allen, who's a perennial 10-sack kind of guy. You have a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, who a lot of Lions fans wanted us to trade for last season. Again, a perennial 10-sack to double-digit sack season kind of guy. You got Calais Campbell, one of the better pass rush over the past decade or so. You have, Marcel Darius, who a lot of Lions fans want us to sign. You have Malik Jackson, who was really good in Jacksonville. You have Dante Fowler Jr., who was really good in Jacksonville. And obviously, with all those great defensive line pieces at the same time, the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2017 season especially had an elite defense. Obviously, if everybody remembers Sacksonville, that really, really good Jaguars defense with all of those defensive linemen and Jalen Ramsey and AJ Boye and Barry Church and, that decent secondary, but that elite front seven, Miles Jack and Telvin Smith and Paul Posluszny, that was an elite defense built up by Todd Wash. And, a lot of their success came from the pass rush and a lot of their success came from the defensive line and the front seven. And again, that's what the Lions are hiring him to do. They're hiring him to improve this front seven, specifically the defensive line, so that the Lions can get more pass rush and let that secondary take effect and let that secondary play up to their best and let the secondary finally reach its potential that it's been searching for the past couple of seasons. Now, obviously, when looking at Todd Wash, the defense in Jacksonville got significantly worse from 2017 to now. However, I don't really blame that on Todd Wash a lot. Obviously, a lot of the statistics went down. The pass rush numbers went down. The sacks, the pressures, the QB hits, all of that went down since 2017. However, I don't fully blame that on the defensive coordinator. A lot of Jacksonville's struggles has been, keeping around the players that made them successful. I mean, Jalen Ramsey wanted out. Yannick Ngakoue wanted out. Calais Campbell wanted out. Malik Jackson's gone gone. Dante Fowler wanted out. You got guys like Marcel Darius who didn't want to be there anymore. And really, if you look at that team, if you look at that 2017 defense that was so dominant under the watch of Todd Wash, everybody from that defense, with the exception of Myles Jack, is no longer in Jacksonville anymore. So yeah, you can say that his production dipped significantly after 2017, but a lot of that had nothing to do with his coaching ability, and a lot of it had to do with the Jaguars front office really making his job tougher than it needed to be as they continued to ship out assets and ship out pieces that made his defense great. I mean, as I said, you got the 4 big name guys of the Sacksonville defense in Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue, Malik Jackson, and Dante Fowler Jr. Those 4 players alone combined for 42.5 sacks in 2017, and just 3 years later, none of them are on the team. Not to mention the Jaguars shipped off Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, Barry Church, Paul Posluszny retired. Telvin Smith is no longer with the Jacksonville Jaguars or hasn't played there in many years. You got Tayshaun Gibson, who I believe is no longer on the Jaguars either. His defense was decimated, not because of injury, not because of coaching ability, because the people in Jacksonville, the players in Jacksonville, didn't want to be there anymore. And that rift from ownership to players really made Todd Wash's job incredibly difficult. And as a result, predictably, the statistics and the defensive performances decreased since 2017. With that being the case, when Todd Wash does have good defensive talent, when he does have guys on the line that show potential, that show flash, that have enough talent to get to the quarterback and just need a little bit of guidance on how to do so, he is a very good coach when it comes to getting his D-line to play well. And with the Detroit Lions situation right now, I do believe they have the talent for Todd Wash to work with and make this pass rush at least relevant and at least acceptable yet again in Detroit. I mean, you have a guy like Trey Flowers that when he is healthy is a 7 to 8 sack kind of player. You have Romeo Okwara, who's coming up a double-digit sack season for the first time in his career and is really starting to find his stride in the NFL after a really slow start. You have guys like John Pennicini and Danny Shelton, who are elite run stuffers when they are on the field together, and when they are playing at their best, they are great run stuffers. So you got John Pennicini, a young, great run stuffer at interior defensive line. You have Danny Shelton, not a super old player, but a veteran in the NFL, a veteran for the Detroit Lions, and a guy that is a veteran in the locker room and yet still has the ability and the skill set to get the job done in the run game as well. You have Julian Okwara, who showed quite a bit of upside when he was playing. You have, Austin Bryant, who again, just like Julian Okwara, shows a lot of flash when he's actually on the field and not injured. So, not to mention you have guys like Deshaun Hand, who's also there, who's a little injury prone, yes, but when he's on the field, he does show some really good flashes. Like, this Detroit team does have some players on defense, and I know they haven't showed up recently, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, there's nothing special about this Lions front seven, there's nothing here for Wash to work with. That is not true. Trey Flowers, as I said, 7 to 8 sack guy. Romeo Okwara, double-digit sack kind of guy. You look at Julian Okwara, Austin Bryant, they have the potential to develop into very good pass rushers. You look at Pennicini and Shelton, very good run stuffers. Deshaun Hand, very good pass rusher from the interior defensive line. The odds of the Lions even drafting more defensive line talent are pretty high, considering if they do move down in the draft, a lot of the talent in the middle of the round is Kwity Paye, is Gregory Rousseau, is Christian Barmore, is, Mac Wilson in the later rounds. Those are the kind of guys the Lions can be looking at in this draft class, and if we get a Gregory Rousseau, that is a guy with unlimited potential. If we get a guy like Kwity Paye, he is probably the best pass rusher in the class. If we get a guy like Christian Barmore in the first round, middle of the first round, that is a good pickup from Alabama and another really big add to our defensive line. So our defensive line, while obviously not being the best in the NFL, does have a couple nice pieces on it that Wash can work with, and with the situation the Lions sit in right now, the likelihood of them getting a defensive lineman early in the draft is relatively high, and seems as though it will get more likely if the Lions do trade out of the number 7 pick. This was a very good hire by the Detroit Lions. Todd Wash, I think, is going to be a very underrated signing signing by the Detroit Lions, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be very high on Wash, but I do believe this is a very good signing because every time he's been given good defensive talent, no matter whether it's been in Jacksonville or Seattle or in Tampa Bay, they generally, when he's given good talent on the defensive line, generally Todd Wash gets the job done, and he gets his players to play at a high level. He gets his players to produce at pressuring the quarterback. He gets his pass rushers to the quarterback more often than not, and that's what the Lions have been missing. I generally think, and I genuinely think, the Lions have a good secondary. I think they have good talent. I think Amani is a very solid player. I think Okudah can be a very solid player in the NFL. I think Tracy Walker is a very good player in the NFL. You know, I think we have a pretty decent secondary, or at least a couple players in the secondary that are pretty good, but until the pass rush gets better, we're never going to see these secondary guys reach their full potential. And under Todd Wash, I do believe we do see the Detroit Lions get up to that full potential, and I do think we see our defensive line get much better next season just purely off the addition of our new D-line coach. You know, this pass rush for the Detroit Lions likely will not be elite next season. We're not going to see a Sacksonville-esque season most likely, even though we do get the guy that commanded that defense. We're likely not going to see the number one pass rush in the NFL next year. We're likely not going to see, this big defensive explosion, and we're going to see the Lions all of a sudden have an elite defense and be elite again. But what I do think we're going to see is Todd Wash come in, and I do think we're going to see an immediate impact and an immediate improvement within the defensive line. I think we're going to see Trey Flowers take a step forward. I think we're going to see Romeo Okwara and John Pennicini and Julian Okwara and Austin Bryant and maybe, a rookie like Rousseau or Pay or Ojulari. I do think we're going to see those guys take steps forward next year. I do think no matter who is on the defensive line, we're going to see improvement at the defensive line next year. I think Flowers is going to have a better year. I think Okwara is going to have a better year. I think Julian and Austin Bryant and John Pennicini and Danny Shelton, everybody on this defensive line is going to improve in the 2021 season just purely off the addition of Todd Wash. And I do believe this is a very good signing for the Detroit Lions. I've said it a couple of times. This is an underrated signing, but this is a guy that's worked with a lot of good pass rushers in the past and tends to get the most out of his pass rushers and seems to be able to get his pass rushers, no matter who they are, big name, small name, talented or average, seems to get production out of his pass rushers, and that's what we should be looking for out of this defensive line in 2021. Now, with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Todd Wash. Do you like the hiring? Do you like the signing of our new defensive line coach, or would you have gone elsewhere with this signing? Let me know that down in the comments below. I'd be very interested to hear where you guys think the Lions stand right now with this hire. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see y'all tomorrow with more Lions content. Thank you all for watching. Bye, guys.